Welcome back everybody to Disc Golf Over 40. James here, and today I'll be testing another one of my minimal bag slots, namely the Overstable approach disc. I've got 3 discs here I'm excited to share with you today. We've got the Tempo from Axiom, we've got the Zone, everybody knows what this one is, Discraft, and we've got the Entropy made by MVP. Which disc would you guys select? Is there one that you'd prefer of these 3, or is there one that I'm totally missing here that should be tested because something out there you've used that you find far better for your overstable approach shots? Let me know in the comments. Love to hear it. I'll be throwing these on several holes. We'll be doing both forehand and backhand, and we'll be comparing and showing how they perform and how they work for me, and ultimately trying to select down to just one for the overstable approach slot in my minimal bag. I want to explain my goal with this overstable approach disc slot. So what I'd like this disc to do is I'd like it to be used between about 100 feet and say 210, 220 for holes where I want to curve around an obstacle, or maybe it's an open hole and I just want a reliable known fade so that I can just curve that disc into the basket if I don't feel as confident about perfect straight shot at it. So that's how I use these. I would like a pretty aggressive fade, but you know, still some decent amount of straight flight, both forehand and backhand. And I'll be sharing that with you, how they stack up for that. Okay, so my first hole, I selected a location 156 feet away from the basket, and I threw all sidearm forehand shots and compared these 3 discs. The Tempo and Entropy both went relatively straight. The Zone, I threw a little bit on hyzer, and as you can see, parked right on the basket. There's the spread. We've got Entropy and Tempo, similar distances, followed by Zone parked. So that was pretty awesome. I liked that result. Okay, for the next hole, this was an actual course hole, not modified. I threw about 200 feet, backhand, starting with the Entropy. Threw it a little more to the right than intended, but it had a nice fade. Next, I threw the Tempo. With this one, a little bit better throw direction, really nice fade, a little bit closer to that basket over towards the left. And then Zone, threw about exactly as intended, and that one ended up right close to the basket. Not completely perfect. It was still about 20-foot putt, but it was much closer than the Tempo and Entropy, as you see there at the end. I was happy with the Zone in this hole as well. So I feel like for hole 1 and hole 2, both forehand and backhand, Zone, I had a luckier shot. Maybe that's all there really was to it. For the next hole, I went ahead and just selected a spot in the open about 100 foot away from a basket, and I did backhand first with all 3 discs. Started with the Tempo, really nice, right under the basket. Entropy, really nice fade, even a little more aggressive fade right under the basket. And then we went with the Zone. Threw that one a little wide out there, but still faded in really nicely. So as you can see, Zone was farthest away, followed by Entropy and Tempo, which were quite a bit closer. So Entropy was actually the closest in that particular hole. But I found that they all faded nicely with that short throw distance. One thing with the Tempo is an easier throw results in it not going too straight for an overstable disc. And sorry if I'm looking down here. Next, we did forehand, where I started with the Entropy, nice forehand shot, followed by the Tempo, and nearly got it right in the hole. And then the Zone, a little bit wide, but a nice fade down near the basket. Well, it would have been more near had it not hit that tree. But either way, it still was quite near. The Tempo bounced far away, but the Tempo definitely had the winning shot. Sure, it bounced off and wasn't perfect, but Entropy, really nice. Zone, really nice. They were all an easy putt. Next hole, we had a par 3, 171 foot. I went ahead and did this one backhand wide around a tree. Started with the Entropy. Really nice. Just faded right over there, landed right in line with the basket. Next was the Zone. A little wider shot. Came back down in though and ended up quite near the basket. Didn't go quite as far as the Entropy. Then the Tempo. That one, yep, really nice. A fade. It had to go way high, and definitely a lot of highs are there. It faded a lot though, and we ended up with Zone and Tempo and Entropy all about tied as far as distance from the basket there. Not too bad. Next hole I stood 198 feet away and went with a forehand. First throw with the Tempo, it actually anhyzered a bit, drifted to the left, and I was throwing into the wind here. Entropy, perfect fade, nice and straight, faded reliably at the end, followed by the Zone. That one a little anhyzer on the release, went right around the tree, and not perfect relative to the basket, but the fade was really nice. So as you can see, Entropy was closest. The other two went a little bit long on that particular shot. But Entropy, Zone, very similar behavior. Tempo, a little straighter. Think I was kind of expecting this, but I had never thrown the Zone, and it's been fun to test the Zone out, and I have liked it. How'd they do in the holes? Overall, I saw that the Zone outperformed the other two discs on 3 of those holes, in my subjective opinion. And then these two, I think, tied, because one of the holes they were basically both a tap-in putt. And then the other 2 holes, it was one or the other. And so I feel like 2 wins, 3 wins as far as my test goes. I'm really liking the Zone. I like the more aggressive fade. I like the plastic feel, that CryZtal Flex plastic that's extra rubbery. It just feels like I can throw it with a relatively reliable release. Now, am I less reliable with these? I don't know, but I do like the feel of this guy a lot. And I do feel like it came out on top. I did some other playing with these discs, a different day off camera. And I found that, yeah, very reliable fade on both these guys. Like I said, Tempo, it's gonna go straighter. Sometimes that's what you want though. And so for my purposes for the slot though, I'm really looking for that well-defined, it's going to fade, and it's going to be reliable. So I'm really leaning toward the Zone. In fact, I'm going to say the Zone is my pick. And I just like the feel of it. I like the fade on it. I like how it performed on the distances I tested, around 100 out to about 200 feet, forehand and backhand. And I feel like it's an awesome disc to fill that slot as I, and reach the goals for that slot that I've shared here. So really appreciate you viewing, and thanks again. We'll see you next time. Nice peaceful evening. Goats up there eating some weeds. Down here we have this board on the ground that I lifted up a little bit ago. And let's see what we find in there. 1, 2 snakes. Look at that. 3, actually. 4. I'm going to leave this covered so they have a place to go, because I actually don't mind snakes at all. That's kind of fun, though. I also have this carp here in the pond, which I'm going to see if I can uncover him from the moss without disturbing him too much. Howdy, Mr. Carp. If I pat you, do you move? You like rubbing your sides on that little cliff there. Howdy, chickens.